I'm children's author Gareth P Jones, and I'm delighted to be with you today. I wish I could be up there visiting you in person. I love Northumberland and I love libraries, but unfortunately I can't, so we're going to do like this, but it's still going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to tell you about and sing about some of my books, including these. Pet Defenders, which is pets fighting aliens to keep the Earth safe. I'm going to tell you about this series, Dragon Detective, in which there is a dragon who's a detective, and I'm going to tell you about my brand new picture book. It's called Rapunzel, and it's all about a rabbit with extremely long ears. And I'm going to tell you about those books, singing you some songs, and I think we should start with a song now, don't you?
If you got a problem, big or small, a mystery to solve and you don't know who to call, take my advice, just listen to me. Call Dragon Detective Agency. Well, it's run by a dragon called Dirk Dilly. You can call him anytime, but don't call him silly. He lives in London in an upstairs flat with a landlady who's as blind as a bat. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, 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 baby, baby. Dirk Dilly, the dragon detective, is so effective when he's detecting the cat's got snaps, so that's a fact. Gonna take a true detective to bring the monkey's back, jumping roof to roof to recover the truth and uncover the clues to discover the proof that the king hunts a rising. Dirk Dilly flies in. Watch out, trouble coming over the horizon.
That was the theme tune to my series, Dragon Detective, all about a dragon detective called Dirk Dilly. The first book is called Catnap. I wrote that theme tune quite a long time ago because I wrote this book quite a long time ago. Even though this book came out last year, and the fourth book in the series, That's a Wrap, came out this year, actually the books originally came out a long time ago, and they looked like this. So this is my first ever published book. It's called The Dragon Detective Agency, The Case of the Missing Cats, and it came out in 2007, which is a long time ago. And this one, Dragon Detective Catnapped, is essentially the same book, and like I say, that came out last year. But let's do a little spot the difference. Can you spot the difference? See how many differences you can see. Let's have a look. Yes, that's right. Yes, a different title. You're right. This one's called The Case of the Missing Cats. This one's called Catnapped. What else can you see? Yeah, you're right. It's different artwork. You're right. This is by Scott Brown, and this is by Nick Price. That's right. They just look completely different. They do look completely different. Yeah, they do indeed. And yet, the words inside are pretty much the same. There are 4 books in total. They're called Catnapped. The second one is called School's Out. The third one is called Sky High. And the fourth one is called That's a Wrap. As you can see from the covers, Dirk meets a human character, Holly Bigsby. And in the first book, Holly calls Dirk because her cat has gone missing. And she likes the name The Dragon Detective Agency, so she calls it up. And she gets through to this gruff-sounding voice. And she asks this detective, she doesn't realise he's a dragon, she thinks it's just a cool name, she thinks he's a human. She asks him to help find her cat, and he refuses. But then she persuades him, and he goes off and he looks, and he discovers that the cats are being stolen by other dragons. Now, I came up with this idea years ago when I wrote the first 3 chapters, and I met Holly and I met Dirk, and I discovered that the cats were going missing and the dragons were stealing them. And then I tried to work out, why would the dragons be stealing them? Maybe you've got an idea. Why would dragons be stealing cats? And I couldn't figure out the answer. I'm sure you're all bursting and brimming with ideas about why dragons might steal cats. I couldn't figure it out. All I knew is that my dragons were vegetarian, so that they could not be eating them. But there must be some other explanation. And because I didn't have an answer, and because I wasn't a children's author, and because I'm easily distracted, I stopped writing that book, and I put it down, and I closed that document, and I walked away from it, and I forgot all about the book. Until a few months later, my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, but she's my wife now, she said to me, for some reason, she waited until Valentine's Day. I don't know why. We were out having a romantic meal, me and my wife, girlfriend at the time, and we were having a romantic meal, and she said, "Oh, Gareth, I've got a confession." Now, you don't want to hear that from your girlfriend at the time on Valentine's Day. But she said, "I've got a confession." I said, "Well, what is it?" And she said, "I've read a few chapters of that book, The Dragon Detective Agency, and I think it's quite good." But then she persuaded me to actually send this book in and try and get it published. So I sent it off to somebody called Sarah, who worked for Bloomsbury, who were just in the middle of publishing these books. You may have heard of them, called the Harry Potter book. Have you heard of the Harry Potter? I don't know. Whatever happened to that guy? I don't know. So they were publishing the Harry Potter books. And Sarah, who was overseeing the publication publication of those books, liked my little story. She liked my few chapters. I'd only written the first few chapters, and she liked those few chapters so much that she said, we'd like you to write 2 books about your dragon detective. Those 2 books became 4 books, and then those 4 books came back out again looking like this. So you've heard a bit of the song that I recorded when the series came out, because I changed it from original. I had added a rap and things like that, but then when the second book came out, School's Out, I went back to that song and I changed it a little bit and I added a new bit, and here's a little bit of that now.
Dark Dilly's back for another adventure with some new baddies, dragons, but familiar henchmen. Here in the fur trees, get ready for some fight. In the tree, Dragon Park is about at the bite. Down the weapons in the case, down the claws and catastrophe. Rain claw banded, it's past around the dastardly. And when you read the final twist, I guarantee you'll shout, what is this book? Dragon Detective, School's Out.
So it's been lovely having these books republished and knowing that they're out there finding new friends, and that Dirk and Holly and Karnataka are finding new people, and new people are finding them and going on adventures with them. So I hope you are one of those people and you get to read one of these books and go on an adventure with Holly and Dirk. But like I said, these books were republished, which meant I got to edit them. I had to edit them. I had to make some changes. And authors always go on about how important editing is. And I know teachers always go on about how important editing is. And unfortunately, they are entirely right. Editing is very important when you are an author. But usually when you're editing, once the book comes out, you can say, well, that's the editing done. I finished with that. That's finished. But of course, with me, when these books came out again, I had to look back at the text and I had to tweak it and make it more relevant and make it more up to date. And it's worth thinking about all of the things that I might have had to think about, all of the things that have changed with technology over the 13 years between the publication of the first book and then the new first book. And that's it for me. So I hope you enjoyed all of that stuff and nonsense. I've got lots of other books as well on various different subjects, which you can check out and find in your local library. So for now, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Rapunzel as well. Thank you.
There are all kind of detectives in this world. You get old ones, young ones, boys and girls. You get any kind of detective that you desire, but there's only one who can breathe fire.